Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Person for DS Sports as always, and today we're going to be looking at the latest developments and how leagues are planning to restart their seasons. We're looking at potentially restart dates, what certain people have maybe said, and potentially what clubs have been saying about potential restarts in their respective leagues. So it's going to be a slightly shorter video, hopefully, and just got a few summary points I'm going to read out, and then perhaps maybe chip in with my own opinion and how maybe other people have been looking at and reviewing the situation currently because of the pandemic going on. So yeah, I'm going to be looking at that. I think we've got 7 leagues or 7 countries in which there are potential developments, and we'll be looking at what their plans are and potentially when they're going to be restarting. So remember, as always guys, leave a like on the video, comment anything that you have, that perhaps it might be your own opinion or any further developments in your own country, wherever you might be from, that's going on. Obviously we know that Belarus is still going and other leagues everywhere else has pretty much stopped and have their own plans for restarting. But yeah guys, leave a like on the video and subscribe to DS Sports for future content. I've got a couple more future videos in mind which I'll be looking to film over the next coming days, and hopefully be uploading in the following days following that. So yeah, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll get into it. So we're going to be starting a bit close to home. I'll be looking exactly at Scotland later on in the video. There's some very new developments going on. So we are filming on Friday the 10th of April. So these updates are of then and pretty much yesterday as well. Did a wee bit of research as well. So a lot of the research as of April the 9th, Thursday April the 9th. And we're looking at England to begin with, so looking south of the border. So the FA and the Premier League have looked at restarting. The season will be finished. They are looking at potentially a June return. They're looking at potentially restarting sort of training and getting players back into training in perhaps smaller groups by mid-May. So that's what they're looking at for that, looking at a June restart. There looks like there won't be any form of null and void or finishing the league as it is, or like cancelling the league and the league standings be as they are. There's no talk of that at the moment. There's been a lot of developments going around how this restart will work and what the plans are, potentially looking at a sort of pre-season type thing. They were saying there could be 2 or 3 weeks of a mini pre-season looking prior to the restart. And in terms of the restart itself, they're looking at possibly a centralised venue. There was wild allegations of it potentially going to China, but I feel like that's going to be very, very unlikely, given not only the fact that you're then transporting players away, although China might be getting out of the lockdown as it stands and getting back to normal as we record, but there's also the factor of the time zones. They're planning on getting all of these games back on television. There's going to be no 3 PM blackout on a Saturday. UEFA have come out and said that it's no longer going to be a thing for the time being when it all restarts. So the fact that there could be games televised from China, meaning that games could be at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, is not ideal and probably not going to fly. And I think everyone in the powers that be have recognised that. So that's one area that they've looked at and is probably going to be rejected. The other option was potentially some kind of World Cup style, in quotes, training camps and games being played that way. So they're looking at a centralised venue, perhaps in the Midlands, it's going to be all kind of training pitches. All the games will take place there, and they might be rotated, and there could be 2, 3, 4 games a day. And these games, and all in all, there could be, I think there's some who have got 8 games to play, some that have got 9, and they'll probably take about 8 weeks to finish the league to its conclusion and play all 38 games. I think, to play all 38 rounds, to complete the 38 rounds, and I think there's like 92 games or something to play. So that's what England's really saying that. In terms of the lower leagues, the EFL, sorry, the 8 weeks is actually to do with the EFL. I'm misreading my notes here. So the English Football League, so Championship down to League 2. 8 weeks does not apply to the Premier League. I think they're looking at a much smaller time frame. Perhaps, we don't know. It could be something similar, we don't know, but there's no official sort of recommended gap that this could finish. So the EFL are sorry. So they're saying that they want to also finish the season when it is safe to do so, and that they will have 8 weeks. They've been told that 8 weeks. Once they get going, they'll be able to finish the league within 8 weeks, and that will include the playoffs as well. So they will have a complete finish to the season within 8 weeks of a restart. So that being said, the Premier League will probably need 5 or 6 weeks with regards to that. So they'll need a much smaller period, since they don't have to play the playoff system, because obviously it needs to be 2 legs affairs for semi-finals and the final itself. So that'll be an extra week or 2 weeks on top of that. So that's what the EFL are saying, and they're also wanting to try and complete the season as well. So we move away from England. That's the sort of basic plans that are going on, plans that have been talked about. In Spain, Javier Tebas, the La Liga president, has come out and said that there are 3 potential return dates where they'll look to restart the season. It'll be either May the 28th, June the 6th, or June the 27th. I don't know why there's maybe a gap of 2-week weekend gap in there, but that's the dates that have been talked about. Now this is obviously going to be determined on how Spain recovers and how they'll get out of the lockdown in their own way, in their respective way. And there's also no talk of centralised venues or cancellation, so it's quite sort of straightforward from Javier Tebas. And yeah, there's a lot going on with different clubs in Spain and how they're like reacting to this lockdown. Big stories regarding Barcelona and Real Madrid. We might talk about that in a separate video. Perhaps maybe not so much in Spain, but maybe so much in England and in Scotland as well, possibly. We might look at different factors around Europe and how they're all going, but we'll kind of leave that there for the time being. So a lot more sort of concrete ideas about what might be going on in Spain, but it obviously, like I say, I've said it a couple of times already, it will depend on how they get out of their respective situation with coronavirus. Going slightly east, we'll go to Italy. Now obviously Spain and Italy have been the 2 countries hit hardest by the coronavirus pandemic. Italy are planning on getting a slightly shorter turnaround, so they're looking at mid-May to get going, perhaps slightly earlier, with potentially a centralised venue in Rome. So Rome in the Stadio Olimpico, more specifically. But it's also worth bearing in mind that for all of these venues, you would need, I think, something in the region of 250 to 300 individuals at these games. So that includes players, training staff, backroom staff, board members, referees, officials, medical teams, all this kind of stuff, to stadium officials, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's a big group of people as well. So that will obviously depend on government advice, how that kind of gathering can be welcomed in a future down the line when we start to come out of the lockdown in every country. So Italy are looking at potentially centralising in Rome, like I say, so that's the Stadio Olimpico they're looking at. And like I say, they're looking for a mid-May return, looking to finish by the end of June. So a nice, good finish would give them 6 weeks to potentially prepare to start the new season in August. So, and I think they're typically a little bit later to get going, unless I'm maybe confusing that with the Spanish league, which normally starts at the end of August. So La Liga have got a bit of room there to manoeuvre as well. So but it will be made till late August as they normally start. So then they have 6 weeks to potentially turn around, maybe get a couple of weeks break, and then look to potentially get a pre-season going in the middle of July. So that's entirely possible. That's the plan's been set out in Italy at the moment. So, and like I say, it's 45-day period they've given, so it'll be, that's like a month and a half, 6 weeks, so 6.5 weeks. So look, things looking a bit brighter in Italy in terms of a time frame to get going. It's a bit sooner than certainly in England. England and Spain. So, and as you'll see, maybe a little bit sooner than some other leagues. Going slightly north now, going into Germany, the Bundesliga Chief Executive Officer, CEO Christian Seifert, says that all matches in the top 2 leagues will be played in their respective stadiums, so there's no centralised venue there either. They're looking at a potential return in May as well, so it's maybe not as soon as, like I say, with Italy, and they all aim to complete the season by the end of June as well. So I think there's maybe not so many fixtures to fulfil, maybe 7 or 8, because it is a slightly smaller league as well, so there's 2 less teams, so there's 4 less games over the course of the season, so there's maybe a few less rounds to play, but they're looking at keeping everything where it is, keeping the home games where they are, and not centralising the league as such. And they're also potentially talking about there being a stadium ban for all fans until 2021, so they're potentially looking at starting next season without fans. So it could be after the winter break, which normally falls middle of December going into the middle of January, or late January. So I think it's a 4 or 5 week break. They could be looking at after that where they start to bring fans back into the ground. So that might not go down so well if countries were to do that, say in England or Italy or Spain or something like that. But I know that the Germans as a people, I might be focusing too much on stereotypes, but are a lot more obedient people, so they'll probably be a bit more lenient to accept that. But obviously from a club perspective, that might not be that great either, and I know that in Germany the financial implications of this whole pandemic is quite horrifying to some clubs, and is leading to potentially a lot of potential bankruptcies should perhaps TV money not be paid or the seasons might not be fulfilled. So it does prove to be a little bit of a problem in Italy financially, but I suppose it is everywhere as well. So yeah, a bit more concrete plans as well, and certainly looking into the long term as well in terms of supporters being allowed into grounds. Going a little bit west now, so we're taking a wee bit of a loop. We're now going into France. Ligue 1 president and the league president, Bernard Caiazo, or Caiafo, or whatever, I might have said that completely wrong, says the league will not restart before June the 15th. So it's a much later time frame. We could be looking at a month since Italy and Germany potentially restarted. So that's certainly a long way down the line. We're looking at 2 months from now before France get re-going, and it is a must to finish the season, according to the president, as all clubs are losing are overall looking at losses of 250 million euros. And I know in France there's a big big pressure from TV companies to finish the season as well, so that they can get so otherwise TV companies are not looking to pay. So Canal Plus and BN are potentially looking at not paying out the last instalment of the league games, and that includes potentially some games that have already been played. So a little bit of a unknown going on there, a little bit hard to kind of figure out what's going on, but yeah, a lot of money being lost, and therefore it's a must that these games must be played out so that they meet all their media and television rights, etc., and look forward to planning a new season with potentially fresher partners. So that's in France. They're saying a must to finish the season, but they will not begin before June the 15th. So a bit more concrete in what's going down. Before I go into Scotland will be the last one we talked about. There's some fresh news going on there. We go to Holland, so we're going slightly north again. The Eredivisie season is to be completed after the KNVB decided, despite calls from clubs, from the three big clubs in the title race in the Eredivisie, in Ajax, PSV and AZ Alkmaar, that they will restart the season and complete it. So there was calls from Ajax, AZ Alkmaar and PSV to end the season and to declare it as it is, which is quite a surprise considering that AZ Alkmaar are very much in the title race in terms of, going nip and tuck with Ajax. It was very close at the top. I mean, I don't think it was any more than 3 points. It might have even been tied at the top. So I think certainly Ajax were top, but not by a lot. And AZ Alkmaar would have been a big surprise to go and win that, but even they wanted to finish the season early. So I think it was maybe so much they actually wanted to scrap the league and declare it null and void, rather than having a points per game basis, or just end the season as it is and declare champions. So so 3 big clubs in Holland were kind of ignored in this case, and the season will go on, and they have actually set a concrete date of June the 19th is when they will restart their season, and it's very likely, obviously it's almost a certainty that the season will continue behind closed doors while they're potentially coming off their decline and their recovery from the coronavirus pandemic. So very concrete, very official news coming out of the KNVB and coming out of the Dutch FA. So moving on to Scotland, a lot has been going on in the Scottish top flight, and we're actually going to leave that for another episode because there is quite a lot of detail going on, a lot of things being said between clubs. But at the moment, the SFA has suspended all professional football until June the 10th, and the thing that they're all talking about at the moment is there is a proposal made by the SFA to scrap the lower leagues and finish them as they are, and declare champions and declare relegated teams, and one up, one down, no playoffs to be played. And all 42 teams in the Scottish Football League will have been voting on that today, and there is I think 3 clubs who have not voted, and there is 1 vote in it as to whether it will be voted in favour or not. So if the vote passes, Championship, League 1 and League 2 will be declared now. They will be the respective champions and relegations. Apart from League 2, I don't think there'll be a pyramid playoff this year, so Brechin would stay in League 2 as a result of declaring the season early. And the vote also means that if there's any way, because the SPFL are still looking to finish the top flight to fulfil European commitments and get their place officially confirm their European participants next season. But if there's any way that they cannot finish the season, this vote will decide whether it's come to a conclusion or not. So if it's voted in favour, if they can continue the season, then they will do exactly the same as the bottom 3 leagues, and declare champions and relegations as it stands right now. So that's what we're looking at the moment. Should the season restart, we're saying June the 10th is the suspended deadline at the moment, but they're saying that there could be 6 weeks of pre-season preparations. Pre-season, I'll be quotation marks, of restart preparation before any games can be played. So I don't know if that is nailed in stone or if that's what the SFA are looking for, but they are saying that there is potentially 6 weeks needed before they can restart the season. So in this case, if they wanted to lift the suspension on football, they wouldn't do it until probably June the 10th. and or perhaps earlier. So if they decided, right, we want to get going again, they would then start the pre-season preparations, and then they probably wouldn't be allowed to start until end of July into August. So they're looking at restarting 2020, 2021. They basically might as well just start that. So, but like I say, that's all for another video. We'll go on, we'll discuss that vote in more detail in another video, which I'll look to discuss over the next coming days. So that's all the 7 countries and all of their plans that are in place at the moment. There are obviously more going about. Belgium have obviously unanimously voted to end their league, and will be looking for UEFA certification on that vote, as the Belgian FA will forward that vote to UEFA for UEFA's approval. So that's the only other big news that I can know at the moment. I tried to find out about Portugal, but I couldn't find anything, surprisingly. So don't know what they're doing. Don't really know what's happening in other parts of the world either. So for the time being, guys, that's all the preparations around the country. Like I say, leave a comment down below for any other news that you've heard on different countries or countries that I've spoken about, and if there's any fresh updates, then I might bring it to you, and I'll probably bring it to you in a fresh episode a week or 2 down the line when things become a bit more clear. But until then, guys, I'll be back with another video on the Scottish football vote, the SPFL clubs vote, in the next coming days, which I'll be looking at in a bit more detail as to who said who and whatnot, and we'll talk about that in a new episode. But until then, guys, thank you very much for watching. Remember, guys, stay home, protect your local health services, your national health services, and from there you can save lives and get back to normal in a much shorter space of time. So thanks very much, guys. We'll see you guys in a new episode very, very soon. Until then, please take care.